1991, a young boy from Pennsylvania disappeared during what should have been one of the happiest days of his life, his own birthday party. His mother had only stepped away for a moment, leaving him playing with friends. But when she returned, he was gone. No signs, no leads, just silence. For 10 long years, she lived with that ache until something completely unexpected happened. One Saturday afternoon, Elaine Whitmore found herself reluctantly leaving the house, nudged along by her best friend Donna. The town of Maple Hollow looked almost frozen in time. White fences, golden leaves, and familiar porches that hadn't changed in a decade. Elaine had avoided places like this ever since the day her son Nathan vanished. But Donna had insisted, "Come to the Lavender Grove Community Yard Sale. It's just a few blocks away. You need this." So Elaine went, and for the first time in years, she felt the sun on her skin without flinching. Tables lined the streets, full of forgotten treasures, old books, vintage clothes, childhood memories for sale. She wandered through it all like she was in a dream, half present, until something stopped her cold. A splash of teal, a small handheld device among a pile of old toys, a Game Boy. Her hands began to shake as she picked it up. It wasn't just the color, it was the stickers, 3 of them. Pikachu in the middle, the other 2 on each side. Frozen in place, Elaine whispered, "Nathan." Donna stepped closer, confused. "What is it?" "This," Elaine said, breathless, "was my son's. This is his Game Boy." She remembered how proud Nathan had been when he got it for his 7th birthday, a gift from a friend at school. He brought it everywhere. She even had to make rules about not bringing it to class. But there it was, sitting on a stranger's table a decade later. "I'm absolutely sure," she said as Donna questioned her certainty. "These stickers, this exact pattern." It was his. Just then, an elderly man approached with a polite smile that quickly faded when he saw Elaine's expression. "Can I help you, ladies?" "Where did you get this?" Elaine asked, barely able to hold the device steady. Before it could slip from her hands, he reached out and caught it. "This belonged to my son," she said, her voice trembling. "My little boy has been missing for 10 years. This was his. Please, if you know anything about where he might be, tell me. I just want to see him again." The street buzzed with chatter and laughter, but in that moment, everything fell silent. Whispers spread through the yard sale crowd as Elaine's voice rose, drawing attention from sellers and curious neighbors. All eyes turned to the elderly man, whose expression shifted. First confusion, then hesitation, and finally, something that looked a lot like fear. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, suddenly pulling the Game Boy out of Elaine's hands and stuffing it into his jacket pocket. "No, please." Elaine's voice cracked, panic rising in her chest. "That's my son's. Why are you hiding it?" "Ela, breathe," Donna said, trying to calm her, but it was too late. 10 years of buried grief surged up all at once, and Elaine collapsed to the ground. Gasps rippled through the gathering crowd. "I'm calling the police," the man said, pulling out his phone. Within minutes, a patrol car pulled up. A young officer stepped out and approached the tense scene. "What's going on here?" The man jumped in first. "She tried to take something from my table. A toy. She says it's hers, but she has no proof." "Sir, can I take a look at the device in question?" the officer asked. "I don't have to show you anything," the man said, keeping a hand over his jacket pocket. "This is my property." The officer's tone shifted. "I'm asking you to cooperate, sir. I know my rights." Meanwhile, Elaine, still sitting on the ground with Donna's help, looked up. "Please," she said softly, "call the detective working on my son's case, Nathan Whitmore. He vanished 10 years ago." The officer radioed for backup. Within minutes, more cruisers arrived, along with an unmarked car. Out stepped Detective Morrison, a seasoned investigator who had never fully let go of Nathan's file. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said gently, kneeling beside her, "tell me what happened." "That man," she said, pointing. "He has Nathan's Game Boy, blue, with 3 Pokemon stickers. It's his. I'd know it anywhere." Morrison's face hardened. He stood up and turned to the man. "Sir, I'm Detective Morrison. I've been working the Whitmore case for a decade. The boy was 8 when he went missing. We documented every item reported with him, including a distinct handheld game with specific stickers. I need you to hand it over for comparison." The man didn't move. Another officer stepped closer and frowned. "Wait, is that Sergeant Walter Griggs? Retired? You used to work for this town, didn't you?" Walter's shoulders stiffened. For a moment, it looked like he might refuse, but then, slowly, he pulled the Game Boy from his pocket and handed it over. Detective Morrison held the device next to the original photos. The stickers, the wear pattern, even the small scratch on the corner, it all matched. "Where did this come from, Mr. Griggs?" "I bought it at a flea market, years ago," he said quickly. "That's not true," Elaine shouted. "He knows something. He has to." "Ma'am, please," Morrison said firmly, before turning back to Walter. "We're going to need to search your property." Walter tensed, jaw tight. "Fine, do what you have to. But I don't want her," he pointed at Elaine, "on my land." The officers began with his car, checking every box he had brought to the sale. Nothing stood out. "We'll need access to your home as well," Morrison added. "Will you cooperate?" Walter sighed. "Whatever, but keep her outside." Elaine and Donna were helped into Morrison's vehicle, following behind as Walter led the short drive to his home just around the corner. Elaine stared out the window, heart racing. Could this be the break she'd begged for all these years, or just another dead end in a case that had already shattered her? They arrived at a modest white house with black shutters, nothing unusual from the outside. "Wait here," Morrison instructed, before heading in with his team. Elaine sat in silence, clutching Donna's hand. Through the window, she watched as officers moved room to room, opening closets, searching corners, flipping through drawers. "It's going to be okay," Donna whispered, but Elaine said nothing. Her eyes stayed locked on the door, her breath shallow. Minutes dragged into nearly an hour. Finally, the door opened. Detective Morrison stepped outside, walking toward them slowly. His expression told her everything before he even spoke. "We didn't find anything," he said gently, as she rolled down the window. There was nothing. No signs that a child had ever lived in that house. No clothing, no toys, no forgotten traces in the corners. Just silence. Elaine felt something sink in her chest. She had been so sure that finding Nathan's Game Boy meant they were finally close. That maybe, after all these years, she might see her son again. Detective Morrison showed her the folder, official documentation confirming that Walter Griggs was, in fact, a retired police sergeant. Full honors, clean record, nothing suspicious. Officer Chen, the one who had recognized him earlier, stepped closer. "If I may speak candidly," he said gently, "Mr. Griggs was deeply respected here for years. I even worked with him briefly before he retired. I can't imagine him being involved in anything harmful." "But the Game Boy," Elaine's voice trailed off. "The stickers, it's his." "I understand," Morrison said, "but there's no way to verify it. We checked for prints, but after 10 years, there's no DNA. We can't legally treat Mr. Griggs as a suspect without something more concrete." They stepped back outside. Walter stood on his porch, arms folded, his expression a mix of annoyance and exhaustion. "Mr. Griggs," Morrison said, "we'd like your permission to retain the Game Boy as potential evidence." Walter waved them off. "Keep it. I was going to sell it anyway." He looked directly at Elaine. "You could have just bought it instead of throwing accusations." Elaine straightened. Her voice, calm but firm, carried more weight now. "That device belongs to my son. I don't have to pay to reclaim something that was never yours." Morrison stepped in. "Sir, do you remember when and where you got the Game Boy?" Walter hesitated, just for a split second. "A flea market," he said. "I bought it for my—" He paused, the word catching. "For my niece." Elaine's breath caught in her throat. That wasn't what he'd meant to say. She saw it. He had been about to say, "my son." And from the look on Morrison's face, he'd noticed it too. The detective turned to Elaine. "Mrs. Whitmore, would you be willing to come to the station and give an official statement?" Elaine nodded. "I'll go." Donna wrapped her in a hug before she climbed into the back of the cruiser. "Call me," she whispered, "no matter what." As they pulled away, Elaine glanced back. Walter Griggs was still on his porch, now surrounded by other officers, calm, detached. But Elaine's heart told her he was hiding something. The police station hadn't changed. A brick building that had stood for decades. She had been there many times over the years, back when Nathan's disappearance was fresh, then less and less as hope faded. Inside, she was led into a small interview room, where she gave a full statement. The officer typed steadily, asking clarifying questions as needed. When it was done, she signed the documents, her hands stiff with fatigue. "I want to see the Game Boy again," she said suddenly. The officer looked unsure, but nodded and made a call. A few minutes later, a forensic tech entered with the device sealed in an evidence bag. "Let's check it together," the technician offered, her voice kind. In the lab, she carefully opened the bag and inserted fresh AA batteries. The startup chime filled the quiet room. The screen lit up, and it still worked. "There's a cartridge inside," the tech noted. Elaine leaned in, breath held, as the technician gently slid it out and read the faded label. "That's it," Elaine said softly. That was his favorite game. He wouldn't go anywhere without it. She turned to Morrison, hope flickering. "Can't you trace it? Something? Anything?" The detective exhaled. "It's possible. We'll run tests, prints, maybe timestamps, but with how many hands it's passed through, results will be difficult to interpret." "I understand," Elaine said, though her voice betrayed her pain. The technician placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll do our best, but just know, it may not tell us much." Elaine nodded, but in her heart, she wasn't ready to give up. They resealed the device with care, treating it with the weight of what it might represent. The only piece of Nathan that had resurfaced in a decade. "You should go home and rest," Morrison said. "We'll have an officer drive you. It's been a heavy day." And it had. Hope had flared, only to be doused again by doubt and uncertainty. In the back of the cruiser, Elaine stared out the window, barely noticing the streets rolling by. All she could think about was that pause, that slip. Walter Griggs had almost said, "son," and that Game Boy. She knew it was Nathan's. This wasn't over. The officer driving Elaine home tried to keep the mood light, making small talk to ease the silence. But she barely heard a word. Her mind was still stuck back at the yard sale, back at that moment when she held Nathan's Game Boy in her hands. Those 3 Pokémon stickers perfectly preserved, just as he had arranged them years ago, tongue sticking out in concentration. "Here we are, ma'am," the officer said as he pulled up to her home. Elaine nodded and thanked him quietly before stepping inside. The moment the door shut behind her, the weight of the day collapsed on her shoulders. She leaned against the wall, her legs suddenly too weak to carry her. In the kitchen, she moved like a ghost. She filled the kettle, set it on the stove, then sat down, her hands covering her face. What started as a simple outing with Donna had spiraled into a whirlwind of confrontation, police, and heartbreak. And now, guilt, crushing, creeping guilt. Had she overreacted? Had she created a scene for nothing? She kept picturing herself collapsing at the yard sale, surrounded by staring eyes, accusing a retired officer in front of half the neighborhood. The kettle whistled. She poured the water over a tea bag and watched the color bloom, but she barely tasted the first sip. She couldn't sit still. Her hands moved before her mind did, dialing Donna's number. "Ela?" Donna answered right away. "Are you okay? What happened at the station? Are you still at the yard sale?" "I am, but I'm about to leave." "Why?" "I want to go back," Elaine said softly. "I need to speak to Mr. Griggs again." Donna paused. "Elaine, are you sure that's a good idea?" "Not to argue," Elaine said quickly. "To apologize. I think I overreacted. I made him look bad in front of everyone. I need to say I'm sorry." There was a long silence, then a sigh. "Okay," Donna said. "I'll come get you." True to her word, she arrived within 10 minutes. Elaine climbed in, grateful for the silent support. As they drove, the sun had shifted across the sky. It was nearing 3 p.m., and the yard sale was winding down. When they arrived, most tables were already packed up. Elaine scanned the area until she spotted him, Walter Griggs, standing by his car, aggressively loading boxes into the trunk. Even from a distance, his body language radiated frustration. "You sure you want to do this?" Donna asked one last time. "Yes," Elaine said, forcing the word past the tightness in her throat. They approached slowly. Walter saw them coming. His expression darkened. "You again?" he barked. "What now?" Elaine took a breath. "I came to apologize. I let my emotions get the better of me. I shouldn't have accused you like that, especially in front of everyone. I'm sorry." Walter stared at her, unmoved. His face was stone. "I hope the neighbors didn't get the wrong idea," he said coldly. "I've lived here for years without a problem. I don't need this kind of drama." "I understand," Elaine said quietly. "Truly." With a hard slam, Walter shut the trunk. "Well, you said what you came to say. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more to pack." He turned and walked off, leaving them standing beside his car. Back at Donna's vehicle, they barely had time to sit before another car rolled into view. An odd-looking green Volkswagen Beetle. A man in his late 20s or early 30s stepped out and headed toward Walter, who was returning with more items. "That's interesting," Donna murmured, eyes narrowing. They watched closely. Walter shoved a large box toward the younger man, clearly agitated. The box wasn't even taped, and as it hit the ground, several items spilled out. Trading cards, small toys, even what looked like more old handheld games. The young man crouched down to pick everything up, clearly flustered. Donna rolled down her window just slightly. "I don't care," Walter's voice carried. "It's not mine." More fragments drifted in on the breeze. "Be honest, for your mother's sake." The young man shook his head, visibly frustrated. He stomped off with the box and shoved it into the back of his car, then peeled away without another word. Elaine and Donna looked at each other, tension thick in the air. "What do you think that was about?" Elaine whispered. They turned to see Walter now calmly clearing off the rest of his table, as if nothing strange had happened. "Maybe that was his son," Elaine said. "I think I heard something about a mother." "I think so too," Donna replied slowly. "But why give him just one box? And why did it spill out like that?" Elaine's thoughts were spinning again. Something didn't sit right. Something about that interaction, about what was in the box and what wasn't. The box had been filled with children's toys, cars, cards, game cartridges. If it belonged to that young man, then maybe the Game Boy had been his too. Elaine turned to Donna, a spark of urgency in her eyes. "What if we talk to him? Maybe he knows something. Maybe he saw something." Donna hesitated. "Elaine, we can't just follow people. That's not okay. And besides, he already left." "Please," Elaine said, her voice low, desperate. "This might be the closest we've come in 10 years. I don't think the police would chase down a hunch like this. Donna looked at her for a moment, torn, then sighed. All right, we'll follow, just to see where he goes. But we're not getting out of the car unless he's comfortable. We're not causing a scene. Of course, Elaine nodded quickly. Thank you, really. They pulled out of the lot, following the direction the green Volkswagen had gone. The car wasn't hard to spot. It stood out with its bubbly shape and unusual color. Donna kept a respectful distance, just close enough to track it without drawing attention. There, Elaine pointed. The Volkswagen's turn signal blinked as it pulled into a strip mall parking lot, right in front of a spooky-looking party store. The building painted in dark colors with purple trim and Halloween decor already on display. Donna tried to follow, but missed the turn, stuck in the wrong lane. It's all right, Elaine said quickly. Just find somewhere to turn around. They doubled back about a quarter mile later. By the time they returned, the man had already exited the store. He was moving fast, holding 2 large bags, clearly in a hurry. But before Donna could pull into the lot, the green Volkswagen suddenly shot backward, hard and fast. Donna slammed the brakes. Whoa, what is wrong with him? The car had nearly clipped their front bumper before swerving into the street and speeding away. Should we still follow? Elaine asked. Donna clenched the wheel. Let's just be careful. If he's acting that skittish, maybe he does have something to hide. They followed again, but the man was now driving erratically, weaving through traffic. And then, a familiar sound filled the air. Railroad bells. The barriers began to lower just as the Volkswagen darted through the crossing. Donna had to stop. No, Elaine said, staring at the flashing red lights. A freight train thundered past, car after endless car. Each second made the chase feel more hopeless. Finally, the last car cleared the crossing. Donna hit the gas, and they pushed ahead, scanning every street, every parking lot. But when they reached the next major intersection, the road split in 3 directions, and there was no sign of the Green Beetle. Which way? Donna asked. Elaine looked around, deflated. I don't know. Donna pulled off to the side of the road. I'm sorry. That train, there was no way around it. Elaine leaned back in her seat and exhaled. It's all right. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe we were chasing ghosts. She stared out the window at the fading sky. Sun's almost down. Let's head back. Donna nodded. We'll tell the police what we saw. He looked like Grig's son. Let them ask the questions. As they drove back, they passed the same store again. Elaine stared at it quietly. Then she said, You know, maybe we should stop, just for a minute. Donna glanced at the storefront. Dark Delights? What could we find in there? But then she noticed a bright banner out front. Huge Halloween sale. Actually, she said slowly, I promised my niece something fun for her birthday. And we did plan a day out, before everything happened. Elaine nodded, her voice softer. I would have taken Nathan to a place like this. He loved Halloween. Donna pulled into the lot. The sign above the entrance read, Dark Delights Party, and for reasons neither of them could explain, the air around it felt heavier than it should have. They stepped out of the car and headed toward the entrance of Dark Delights Party Emporium. Outside, a young employee crouched by the curb, casually smoking a cigarette. As they walked past, he gave a half wave, cigarette still between his fingers. I'll be in soon to help you, ladies, he called, not getting up. Inside, Elaine and Donna pushed open the heavy glass doors and were immediately hit with a wave of cool air and eerie ambiance. The store felt like it belonged in another world, nothing like the quiet shops back in Maple Hollow. Shelves were packed with elaborate Halloween costumes, from vampires and zombies to bizarre, nightmarish creatures. High-end latex masks hung on the walls, their hollow eyes following every movement. Wow, Donna murmured, picking up a bottle labeled Stage Blood. They're really going all in for Halloween. Animatronics rattled to life as they walked past, triggering fog machines and spooky sounds that made both women jump more than once. The place wasn't just a store, it was a full-on haunted maze disguised as retail. Elaine wandered the aisles, her mind not on costumes, but on why Walter's son had come here in the first place. Eventually, Donna found a sparkly purple witch outfit she thought her niece would love. Perfect, she smiled. She'll be thrilled. They made their way to the cashier counter, but the store clerk still hadn't come back in. Through the front window, they saw him still outside, finishing his cigarette with absolutely no urgency. Donna set the costume on the counter and sighed. "I'll go get him." But as she turned, the costume, silky and lightweight, slipped backward and landed behind the counter on a cluttered workspace. Donna waved it off. "Don't worry, I'll call him." Still, Elaine, always the considerate one, decided to reach for it herself. She leaned over the counter carefully, stretching to retrieve the fallen fabric. But as she did, something caught her eye. A laptop. It was open. Active. The screen showed a paused video file. The costume had landed partially on the keyboard, and as Elaine reached for it, her hand brushed a key, accidentally pressing play. A shaky, low-res video began to play. The footage showed trees in the dark, the flicker of a handheld camera moving through what looked like woods at night. The image jolted, then, suddenly, a face appeared close to the screen. "What do you think?" a man's voice asked before the video abruptly cut off. Elaine's breath caught in her throat. The man in the video, he looked exactly like the one from the parking lot. Walter Griggs' son. The front door chimed. Donna walked back in, the store clerk following reluctantly behind, his expression annoyed from being interrupted. As soon as the clerk spotted Elaine leaning over the counter, his tone turned sharp. "What are you doing back there?" he snapped. Elaine straightened quickly. "Sorry, I wasn't trying to snoop. The costume slipped. I was just trying to pick it up." But the clerk's eyes darted to the laptop. His face flushed with panic. Elaine pressed. "Who was that man? The one in the video? He came in earlier, driving a green Volkswagen. You know who I mean." "I don't know what you're talking about," he said flatly, moving toward the laptop. But in his rush, he accidentally minimized the video window, revealing something behind it. Elaine's eyes widened. There was an old-school Yahoo Messenger chat window still open. The title of the group read, "Scary Fun Party," and in the chat box, bright and bold among emoji and usernames, was one name that made her world stop. Nathan. The clerk froze, then slammed the laptop shut. "You had no right. I could report you for this." Elaine stepped forward, her voice rising, not with anger, but with sheer urgency. "You don't understand. My son disappeared 10 years ago. His name was Nathan. I saw that name in your chat. That's not just coincidence," the clerk scoffed. "Nathan's a common name. What's your problem?" Donna jumped in. "The man in that video, the one who was here earlier, we think he's connected to her missing son. The police opened a new lead this morning. His father may be involved." The clerk paled. He started to tremble. "I don't know anything about that," he said quickly. "I just work here. I don't even talk to those people. I sell costumes." Elaine leaned across the counter. Her voice was low, steady. "But you did talk to him. You had a video with him in it. And a chat mentioning Nathan. What were you planning? What kind of party needs that kind of group chat?" The clerk backed away slightly, panicked. Donna glanced at Elaine, then back at him, because the evidence we found this morning suggests that man, or someone close to him, might be hiding more than just party supplies. Elaine's voice was firm now. "We have to tell the police. That video, the chat, it's another lead. It mentions Nathan by name." The store clerk broke almost instantly, his confidence crumbling. Please don't involve the cops," he pleaded. The guy's name is Derek. He's throwing some kind of Halloween party at an old family property. That's all this is. The chat's just about the party, I swear." His hands trembled as he reopened the laptop. "Look, see for yourself. I just sold him fog machines, props, some lights. That's it. I didn't know anything about a missing kid." Elaine and Donna leaned in, reading the messages carefully. The group chat mentioned Nathan directly, followed by a sentence. "Make sure the visuals are full tier. Strobes maxed. Surprise has to hit hard." And beneath that, an address. "So you were invited?" Donna asked, quickly scribbling the location on a receipt. The clerk nodded weakly. "Yeah, I'm in the group, but I don't know anything illegal." "Nothing like that." Elaine straightened. "Thank you, but I still have to call the police." The clerk panicked. "Please don't. My boss will fire me. I'm on probation. I had a shoplifting charge 2 years ago. This job is part of my program. If I lose it, I could go back." Donna looked at him, softer now. "If you've got nothing to hide, you won't be in trouble." Elaine was already on the phone, hands trembling. "This is Elaine Whitmore," she said as soon as someone answered. "I have new information about my missing son, Nathan. There's a video, a group chat, and an address." She gave the dispatcher all the details. Within 15 minutes, the quiet of the parking lot was broken by the distant wail of sirens. Several cruisers pulled in, lights flashing. Officers filed into the store, and the clerk's face drained of all color as he stepped back from the counter. Detective Morrison was among them. Elaine rushed to him, recounting everything: the video, the name Derek, the chat, the location. Meanwhile, officers questioned the clerk, who spoke with clear fear in his voice, but didn't deny what had happened. "I just sold costumes. That's it." Elaine stood with Morrison as they watched. "I don't think that young man is involved," she said softly. "He's scared, yes, but he gave us what we needed." Morrison nodded. "We'll take that into account, but what matters now is following up on this address." Another officer approached, holding the piece of paper Donna had written on. "Sir, this place isn't far. A rural property just outside town, near the woods." A second officer called out, phone to his ear. "Just got off the line with Walter Griggs. It's his old vacation house. He says he hasn't used it in years. Claims he didn't know Derek was going there." "Copy that," Morrison said. Then, turning to Elaine and Donna, "You're riding with me." They climbed into his unmarked vehicle, and within moments, they were heading out of town. The sun had nearly vanished by now, casting the sky in streaks of orange and violet. The farther they drove, the narrower the roads became, winding through dense trees and long shadows. Finally, they turned onto a dirt path. There it was, a forgotten, semi-abandoned cottage, its windows dark, its porch sagging. The whole place looked swallowed by nature, like time had tried to erase it. "There," Elaine said suddenly, pointing, "the green Volkswagen." Parked crooked near the house, its presence confirmed what she feared and hoped. Other vehicles were also present, but the area was eerily quiet. "No movement," Donna whispered. The police pulled in fast and stepped out with purpose. Hands went to weapons. Morrison turned to the women. "Stay in the car." But Elaine couldn't. Not now. Not when they might be just steps away from the answer to everything. She and Donna slipped out quietly, following at a distance. The officers moved carefully, surrounding the building. The front door was slightly ajar, hanging open like a broken jaw. "Police!" one officer called out. "Anyone inside?" Silence. Guns drawn, they entered. Elaine and Donna stood just beyond the doorway, hearts pounding. The inside smelled of rot and old wood. The air was thick with mildew. Cobwebs draped across beams like ghostly curtains. The house felt wrong, empty, yet not abandoned, not entirely. The floorboards groaned beneath every step as the officers cleared the cottage room by room. Elaine followed quietly until something stopped her in her tracks. Faint voices, laughter, somewhere beyond the house. "Do you hear that?" she whispered to the nearest officer. He paused, nodded, then pointed toward the back of the house. Through a shattered window, they could see flickering lights deeper in the woods, like torches or strobe lights. "Stay here," the officer instructed firmly. "This is now an active perimeter. For your safety and for case integrity, you must remain inside." Elaine nodded but watched anxiously as the officers disappeared into the trees. The deeper they went, the louder the noises became, distorted music, bursts of laughter, and then something more disturbing. Was that screaming? And then everything shifted. "Police! Hands in the air!" came the sharp commands from the woods. The music cut off instantly. Chaos erupted. Shouts, cries, confusion. Officers began calling for backup. One even requested a medical unit. Elaine's chest tightened. Another officer appeared behind her. "You need to wait outside. Now." She and Donna were guided out into the cooling air. They stood beside the patrol cars, both women gripped by silence and dread. And then they saw them. 5 figures emerged from the woods, escorted by officers. At first glance, they didn't look human. Their costumes were grotesque: rotting flesh, exposed ribs, blood smeared down their arms. In the low light, it was like watching nightmares walk. They were handcuffed, read their rights, and lined up near the cruisers. Elaine's heart froze when she recognized one of them, Derek, the same man from the yard sale, from the video. His eyes found hers, and his expression twisted with rage. "Who are you?" he snapped. "You had no idea. You ruined everything." Elaine stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I'm Nathan's mother." Derek's face contorted. "We were just having fun," he spat bitterly. Officers immediately pulled him toward the waiting vehicle. As they loaded the men into cruisers and began pulling away, another officer rushed over to Elaine. "Ma'am," he said, breathing hard, "we found a young man in the woods. He says his name is Nathan, but he won't come out. He's extremely shaken. We need your help." Elaine's knees buckled. Donna caught her arm. "Go," Donna said softly. "Go get your son." Elaine followed the officer through the woods. It wasn't far, just a short walk behind the cottage. The police flashlights illuminated a small clearing with a dying fire pit still glowing. And there, crouched low in the dirt, was a young man. His hands were over his head, rocking back and forth. He was muttering to himself in a cracked, terrified voice. "You're all zombies. They're going to kill me. I should have listened. I should have stayed down there." Elaine froze. The voice, the fear, the words. A stain spread down his jeans, the mark of someone completely overwhelmed by panic. The officers stood silently, none of them thinking this was funny. This wasn't a prank. This was trauma. Elaine stepped forward slowly, every part of her trembling, but her voice steady. "Nathan," she said softly, crouching beside him. "It's me. Mom's here. I'm alive. I found you." For a moment, he didn't react. Then slowly, painfully, he lifted his head. His face was streaked with tears and dirt. He was sweating despite the cool night air. His eyes were wide, pupils dilated. His whole body trembled. But even through the changes, through 10 years of missing memories, Elaine recognized him instantly. The curve of his cheek, the slope of his brow, the way his hair still fell messily across his forehead. It was him. "That's Nathan," she whispered. One of the officers leaned in. "He's showing signs of a hallucinogen in his system," he said quietly. "His fear response is extreme. Pupils dilated. He's deeply confused." Elaine nodded, but didn't move. She gently took Nathan's hand. "You're safe now," she whispered. "No one's going to hurt you." But Nathan pulled away, panic still bubbling to the surface. No, I can't leave. If I leave, they'll find me. The zombies, they're still out there. They're doing things to people. Elaine's heart cracked. What had been done to her boy? Nathan, she said, firmer now. There are no zombies. The world didn't end. You're not in danger anymore. That wasn't real. With the help of the officers, one flashlight at a time, one soft word at a time, they slowly guided him to his feet. His hand gripped Elaine's with all the strength he had left. He kept glancing over his shoulder, expecting monsters, but there were none. Together, they walked out of the woods, back through the abandoned house. Waiting near the cruisers, a medical unit stood ready. The paramedics approached carefully, calm and respectful. Elaine stayed beside him as they eased Nathan into the ambulance, never letting go of his hand. And in that moment, after 10 years of silence and not knowing, she finally had her son back. He's still under the influence, one of the paramedics said softly. We need to get him to the hospital to figure out exactly what he was given and start treatment. At the word hospital, Nathan's body tensed again. No, not the hospital, he cried out, panicked. They'll turn me. They'll experiment on me. Shh. Elaine leaned close, gently stroking his hair like she had when he was a little boy. No one's going to hurt you, I promise. The doctors just want to help you feel better. The paramedic looked at her, concern in his voice. Ma'am, we need to administer something to calm him. It's standard procedure for safe transport. Do we have your consent? Elaine nodded. Yes. The sedative worked quickly. Within moments, Nathan's breathing slowed, his muscles relaxed, and his eyelids began to flutter shut. Detective Morrison appeared at the rear of the ambulance. Mrs. Whitmore, he said gently, you should ride with him. My team is staying here to collect evidence. We've already contacted Walter Griggs. He's on his way. I want to speak with him, Elaine said, her voice tight. I need to look that man in the eyes. There'll be time, Morrison assured her. Right now, your son needs you more. Donna approached the ambulance just as Elaine turned toward her. Will you come with me? She asked. Of course, Donna said without hesitation. The paramedics secured Nathan on the stretcher. Elaine held his hand as the doors closed, shutting out the chaos behind them. Inside the hospital, the emergency department was all motion. Nurses, machines, clipped voices. The paramedics rolled Nathan through the automatic doors while Elaine tried to follow, but a nurse stepped into her path. Ma'am, she said gently, we'll take it from here. Someone will come get you as soon as possible. Elaine and Donna were guided to a quiet waiting room, sterile chairs, beige walls, the soft hum of vending machines nearby. Elaine sank into one of the chairs, the exhaustion of the day finally catching up to her. I can't believe it, she whispered. He's alive. My Nathan is alive. Donna sat beside her, gripping her hand. You found him, Elaine. After everything, you never gave up. Tears streamed down Elaine's cheeks. If you hadn't dragged me to that yard sale, if you hadn't kept pushing. Donna squeezed her hand tighter. From now on, you focus on the future. You're not alone in this anymore. Time crawled. Every minute stretched like an hour. Elaine kept replaying the moment she saw him in the woods, the fear in his eyes, the confusion in his voice, what had been done to him. Finally, a doctor entered the waiting room. White coat, wire-rimmed glasses, and a kind expression. Mrs. Whitmore? He asked. Elaine stood instantly. Yes, how is he? I'm Dr. Peterson, he said. I've been overseeing Nathan's care. He was given a hallucinogen, one that creates vivid, immersive delusions. It explains his fear and disorientation. Is he hurt? Elaine asked, holding her breath. We found no physical signs of abuse, the doctor said. That's the good news. But he is malnourished. He's weak. We're addressing that now. He's been moved to a private room and is still resting while the substance clears from his system. Can I see him? Soon, the doctor promised. Just a little more time. He left, and not long after, Detective Morrison returned with another officer. His face was serious, but calm. Mrs. Whitmore, Ms. Parker, we need to speak privately for a few minutes. They followed him to a consultation room, a small table, plain chairs, and a notebook laid flat. We've learned quite a bit from our interviews, Morrison began. Walter Griggs's son, Derek, he's the one who took Nathan. He admitted it openly. Elaine leaned forward, eyes locked on the detective. Why? Why my son? He said it happened during Nathan's 8th birthday party. Elaine nodded slowly, her voice barely audible. It was the biggest party I ever threw. We invited the whole neighborhood. We had music, balloons, kids were playing in the garden, the butterfly area. It was perfect, until it wasn't. The detective continued. Derek claims, delusionally, that he believed Nathan was his brother in some kind of past life. He says he loved him, but not in any healthy way. He told us he never meant to harm him, but also admitted he never planned to bring him back. Elaine gripped the edge of the table. How did he do it? How did he take him? Elaine wasn't even sure she wanted to know the full story, but she had to. Derek was 21 when it happened, Detective Morrison began gently. He approached Nathan at his birthday party pretending to be a cool older friend. He told him there was a secret spy mission in the woods. Nathan, being adventurous, lonely, and eager to bond, followed him. Elaine closed her eyes. He always wanted a big brother, or a dad. He never had either. Morrison nodded. Derek gave him allergy meds from his father's kit, enough to make him drowsy. Then he carried Nathan out through the far end of the park. No one noticed. He took him to an old property his father owned on the outskirts of Ash Hollow, a house long forgotten. Nathan was kept in the basement, sealed off, hidden. Elaine gasped. A basement? The detective's expression hardened. Derek told Nathan that everyone from his party, his entire world, had died. He said there had been a zombie outbreak, that the world had ended, that Derek had saved him. Nathan believed it all. For years, he believed it. When he got older, Nathan wanted to help. Derek couldn't control that, so he drugged him with hallucinogens and created terrifying illusions. Zombie parties, he called them, to keep Nathan afraid, to trap him in that fear. Those parties, Donna whispered. That's what they were? Morrison nodded. He invited his friends to participate. They thought it was just a creepy, immersive horror game in the woods. None of them knew they were tormenting a boy who hadn't seen sunlight in a decade. Elaine's hands shook. He was just a child. There was silence. Then, "What about Walter?" she asked quietly. "Did he know?" Morrison hesitated. "Walter has asked to speak with you. If you'd like, we can hear him out together." Elaine nodded. "I need to hear it." Minutes later, Walter Griggs entered the room, pale, older than before, haunted. He sat across from Elaine but couldn't meet her eyes. I didn't know," he began. "I swear to you, I had no idea Nathan was in that house. I knew Derek was troubled. I saw things on his computer years ago, photos, drawings. I confronted him once, but he always had excuses. I told myself it wasn't what it looked like. I didn't want to believe he was capable of something so horrible." Elaine looked at him with trembling anger. "Then why hide the Game Boy?" Walter looked ashamed. "Because when you recognized it, I knew. I didn't want to admit it, not even to myself. But in that moment, I realized something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I thought maybe he'd bullied someone, hurt someone. I didn't think this." He wiped at his face. "I'm sorry for protecting him, for hesitating, for not being the father he needed. and the man you deserve to meet today." Elaine didn't speak. She just nodded once, heavy with everything she'd heard. Morrison cleared his throat. "We've also spoken to the store clerk, Tony. He's not involved. Derek had approached him as a customer. Tony helped design the decorations, thinking it was just for a spooky party. He never went to the event. He had no idea Nathan even existed." A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Peterson stepped in, his expression gentle. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said softly, "Nathan is awake, and he's asking for his mother." Elaine stood so fast her chair nearly tipped over. She followed the doctor through the hallways, her heart in her throat. The room was dim, quiet. Nathan was sitting up in bed, small and shaken despite his age. His eyes darted toward her, uncertain. "You said, you're my mom?" he asked. Elaine stepped closer, voice trembling. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm your mom. I barely remember," Nathan admitted, confused. "I was 8 when Derek took me, but I remember your voice. You used to sing to me, right? When I was scared?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes, I sang to you every night." He looked away, afraid. "But the zombies, Derek said the world ended, that you were gone, that they got you." Elaine sat gently on the edge of the bed. "None of it was true, my love. The world didn't end. No zombies, just lies. I've been looking for you every single day for 10 years, and now you're safe. Everyone is safe." Dr. Peterson spoke softly from the doorway. "He'll need time, therapy. He's been through more than most can imagine, but with the right care, there's hope." Elaine never let go of her son's hand. "We have so much to catch up on," she whispered. "Birthdays, holidays, the first day of school, but we'll make new memories, Nathan. We'll make them together." Nathan squeezed her hand, unsure, but trying. "I want to believe you," he said. "I want to believe it's really over." "It is," Elaine whispered. "You're home now." As she held him close for the first time in a decade, she realized the truth. It was love that had brought them here. Not luck, not fate. Just the relentless love of a mother who never gave up. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they'd walk it together, mother and son, reunited at last.